Attention, you're listening to The Todd Huff Show, America's home for conservative, not bitter talk and education. Be advised, the content of this program has been documented to prevent and even cure liberalism, and listening may cause you to lean to the right. And now, coming to you from the Full Suite Wealth Studios, here is your conservative but not bitter host, Todd Huff.
All right, my friends, you have tuned in to this voice of calm and reason ever so wisely, my friends. It's a pleasure to be here. Friends, you know that we are in the midst of a cold civil war. We've talked about that on this program for a long, long time, probably years plural. We have an ideological battle. And it largely stays cold, meaning that it's not fought, thankfully, with bullets, though it certainly has been fought with bullets. It's been fought with bullets when they assassinated Charlie Kirk. It was fought with bullets when they shot and hit the ear of President Donald J. Trump. It is certainly heating up. We talked a little bit about that even yesterday on yesterday's Todd Talk, when I shared Hunter Biden's comments about turning the heat up. Now, he has come out and said that he didn't mean it the way that, of course, I interpreted it, and I think people with brains interpreted it, calling for more intensity. That's candidly leading to this violence. But anyway, we're in this cold civil war that has, on a few occasions, some occasions, turned hot. And friends, there has to be a winner here. There has to be a winner. We have reached a point where these mutually exclusive worldviews cannot peacefully coexist. Now, they can, as far as I'm concerned. The Bible tells us, as much as possible, live at peace with other people. Live at peace with everyone. As much as it depends upon you, live at peace with other people. But sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it's outside your control. And candidly, when the political tensions and pressures get this high, when they start calling you not just names on social media, when they try to dox you and try to, in some cases, send the SWAT team to your house at 2 a.m. or some such, these things have all happened. When they fire, obviously, weapons in your direction, we have reached the point where you can compromise with these people. They must be soundly defeated, my friends. And so that's what I want to talk about here today, that we need a winner. We need a winner, and I'll get to that here in just a moment. Friends, investments are like seeds that we plant. They grow, they multiply, they produce fruit, but are they bearing the kind of fruit that you want? Now, of course, we all want them to produce the kind of fruit that leads to increase in finance, which is wonderful. That's the point of an investment. But how many times have we invested in something that is antithetical to what we believe in? I'm not saying you go out and buy stock in some openly wicked corporation. I'm saying you invest in a company that's doing legitimate business, and you later find out that they're taking their profits and propping up some of these ideas that you are fighting against with all of your might on a regular basis. Or you find out they're supporting things like Planned Parenthood or other organizations that are antithetical to your beliefs. At 48 Financial, they believe your money should reflect your values. That's why they specialize in wealth management and biblically responsible investing. Specifically, they screen out companies that do not align with your faith. It's all part of their purpose-centered financial planning, helping you live a life of meaning and purpose. If you want to see to what degree your investments align with your values, all you have to do is take a short, easy, quick assessment at 48financial.com/Todd. Again, that's 48financial.com/Todd, and find out how your current investments line up. To what degree are those investments aligned with your values, producing the kind of fruit that you want? 48 Financial, they're here to worry about your money so you don't have to. All right, friends. There's rising strife here in this country. And, I think one of the common misconceptions is that when there is this strife, you seek to compromise. And now listen, I'm not saying there are people out there with whom the rest of us can compromise. Absolutely. But there's not that you reach a point with some people where it's no longer disagreement. It's not even heated disagreement. They seek our demise. They cheer when someone who talks about our ideas is assassinated in public. That happened. That's absolutely happened. When Trump is struck in the ear by a would-be assassin's bullet, the first thing they say is, I wish the shooter would have had more practice. Anytime President Trump has someone named Trump in his family who passes away of whatever, has something bad happen to them, so there's a trend on X that usually has the hashtag wrong Trump. See, this is not the communication of ideas. The left, listen, the left has lost that, many of them. The insane, angry, rage-filled, godless, radical left, they've given up trying to persuade and exchange ideas. They have gone straight to trying to intimidate you, which candidly, if we're being honest here and having a discussion about these things for what they are and not worrying about censorship and everything else, that is by definition terrorism. Terrorism is the use of violence or the threat of violence that is designed to achieve a certain political outcome. That is the definition of what terrorism is. Terrorism, for a lot of misinformed or, I don't know, I don't say this in some mean way, but uneducated folks, terrorism just means, oh, that was really, really scary. That terrorized me. That kept me up at night. No, terrorism is specifically designed to create, not, of course, using the terror that they've created, but to get the person that they're trying to terrorize to take a decision, to make a step, a political step, that is in the interest of the people doing the terrorizing. So they want to scare you into submission. And they're absolutely. So when there's conversations about domestic terrorism, when there's questions about whether Antifa's domestic terrorists, ask yourself, are they engaging in the free exchange of ideas? Are they trying to persuade? Are they trying to make their point? Yes, they can get rowdy. They can raise their voices. They can even attack people like me, like you personally. Go for it. Have at it. But what you cannot do is try to use violence or the threat of violence to achieve your political objectives. That is no longer, you're no longer engaging in political discourse. You're candidly engaging in terrorism. You're candidly engaging when bullets are flying, my friends, you're engaging in actual hot civil war. And so the temperature has been turned up here, and I don't know if I mentioned this earlier. I mentioned this at the yesterday's Todd Talk. No, I can't. Sorry. Lots of things. I say lots of words. But yesterday's Todd Talk, I talked about Hunter Biden, who basically said, this isn't going to be a popular thing to say. I'm paraphrasing what he said, but Hunter Biden said, I think we should turn the heat up in America. And that was when he was being asked specifically about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. He thought the temperature needed to be turned up higher than I guess, assassination. I don't know what comes next. What is higher than trying to murder your political adversaries in the political discourse heat continuum? What is higher on the scale than that? I thought that was as high as we could get, but Hunter Biden thinks that we need to turn it up. Now, he came out and said he wasn't calling for violence, as all normal, regular people would have assumed that he was. But nonetheless, that's what's out there. And there is incredible strife out there, civil strife in this country. But the only way to get out of this is for there to be a winner. There has to be a winner here, and we had better win. And when I say we, here's what I mean. Here's what I mean. Listen, in spite of all their flaws, Republicans have to win this debate. We have to get Republicans elected and then hold these jokers and clowns accountable. That's what I'm doing. I still haven't heard back from Senator Rod Bray. If he thinks this is going away, if he thinks I'm just going to forget this, for those of you who haven't tuned in, the state of Indiana has the governor called for a special session of Congress of the state legislature to consider redistricting, and there were plans for that to begin here in a couple of weeks. But the leadership of the Senate has announced that they're not going to do that because they, quote, don't have the votes. That's it. And the announcement came from Senator Rod Bray, who's my state senator. He's in District 37, which is where that's the area that I live in. And I've invited him on this program several times over the past several weeks. Never heard anything. We did get an auto response when I emailed. We called a couple times. I called his office. He works here in town. I'm not telling you to please. I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just telling you I've reached out. I've left messages. I've never gotten a real human being. I got an auto response email, which again, I'm a constituent. Yes, I have a radio show and a podcast. Yes, I think he should come on here and talk about it. We've had Micah Beckwith came on here, Lieutenant Governor of Indiana. We had Bo Bai, who came on here, who's a Democrat running for Attorney General. He came on here. If you can't come on this program as a Republican and tell me and have a conversation with me, you're not fit. You're not fit for leadership. You're not fit to be sitting in office. And you don't owe it to me. Let me be clear. You don't owe that to me. But, if we've had people on this program who have a national reach, people like Eric Trump and Mark Meadows and Joni Ernst, representatives in Congress, senators. Of course, Mike Braun has been on here in the past as well. He's now governor, was senator here in the great state of Indiana. I don't understand. I don't understand why you don't communicate. And if you think this is going away, Rod Bray, you had better rethink that. You're in my district, and I will make sure on this program that people know that if Democrats win in November, in a year from now, think about what's going to happen. This will be partially laid at the feet of people like Rod Bray. So when I talk about, and I hope he changes his mind, I hope he at least tells us why he's not having this, or tells us why he thought it was cool to have all these decisions made behind closed doors, and then you say, release a single sentence that says, hey, we're not going to have a session because we don't have the votes. Thanks for playing. We'll talk to you the next time I feel like sharing some information with you, which apparently is never, because I can't get anything from his team. So I know that we have Republicans like that to deal with when I say this. So I say it with, when I say we need to elect more Republicans, I say it with a fair amount of, I don't want to say hesitation, but an understanding that that's a whole additional conversation. So we have to get the right people driving the bus, I guess. And then we have to hold the people driving the bus accountable. We have to say, now that you're in the driver's seat, you told us this is the direction you want to go. You've got to use the accelerator. You got to use your turn signal. You got to turn. You got to follow the rules of the highway. Don't put it in park. And don't go out and tell us about all the things that you can't get done. Let's start turning this country and leading it in the right direction. That's what needs to happen. So it's a multiple-step process. And look, some of these folks need to be primary. Rod Bray, I don't care whatever position he is, he's top in the Senate. Been in office, by the way, I believe since 2012, which in my estimation is way too long. It's been, the seat was held previously by his dad as well. It's been in the family for a long time. But he owes us answers. Republicans, owe us answers. So there's a multiple step process there. And of course, it's not just as easy as electing Republicans and then going about our business. These folks have to be watched. They have to be held accountable. This is what we get otherwise. So there's a lot of divisiveness here. The way out is for Republicans to win, but they can't just win. They have to win and then be held accountable by us, and we have to be vigilant. If they're not going to do what needs to be done, they need to be replaced. And all these things I say, because of the political climate, I want you to understand I'm saying all these things peacefully and legally, whatever's at our disposal to win this political battle, we had better be prepared to do. Whatever is ethical, moral, and legal, that's the path we're going, even if it makes people uncomfortable. That's why I have no problems telling you I'm in favor of redistricting. There's a lot at stake here. You have a political party who hates this country, and the Democrat Party. I'm telling you, they hate this country as founded. Not every rank and file Democrat. This is where people get confused. I'm not talking about your next door neighbor who's a retired teacher or a member of the union or something like that. I'm talking about the people they end up electing. Even if those people pretend, successfully trick people in a local election to believe that they love this country as founded, the people they elect at the national level for leadership positions are radical. They enable radical things to happen. They've enabled open borders. We are digging out of a mess that is absolutely catastrophic in this country, that's come in the form of illegal immigration and all that has come from that. We are digging out of an absolutely massive, just financial disaster caused by unbelievably large inflation numbers under the Biden regime. This country is in a world of hurt, and a lot of these problems have been caused by policies of the deranged, insane, radical left, which, of course, is the Democrat Party is their home today. We had best prepared to do whatever it takes to win these elections. Texas redistricted, by the way. Judges came in and said that they can't do that because they gerrymandered based upon race. This, of course, leads to a case that the Supreme Court has heard regarding state of Louisiana being ordered to have a couple of districts that are majority minority, if that makes sense. So a majority of black voters must be in two districts currently in the state of Louisiana, and yet they're telling that's the way that the law of the land is interpreted currently. The Supreme Court is reviewing that and might change it, but they want to say that redistricting for political purposes is racism, but demanding that Louisiana have two districts that have majority black voters, because, again, Democrats do this because they think that it's helpful for them politically. That's not, of course, racist. We've got ourselves in a massive mess. I'm telling you, we have Republicans being elected. As much as I hate uttering those words sometimes, that is the way out of this mess. I want to talk about this Axios poll here. New poll finds most Americans fear civil war and Democratic decline. I'm going to go through that to show you, give you some actual numbers about how people are feeling out there about what's going on. But I want to remind you, my friends, MyPillow has a 3-in-1 sale right now. It's the biggest 3-in-1 sale ever. They have a limited edition product, a back-in-stock special, and a closeout deal that should make you happy, my friends, as we enter in the holiday season. Maybe this is something when you go to MyPillow, you can treat yourself to, but you can also add this as a gift for someone else in your family. So they've got bed sheets starting at $29.98, any color, any size, any style. They've got My Towels that are regular $69.98 on sale for $39.98. And now they've also got their limited edition premium My Pillows made with Giza cotton and a designer gusset. Queens at $17.98, kings for $19.98. So you can go to mypillow.com/Todd. Use promo code Todd to get these special discounts and discounts on other products as well. MyPillow.com, promo code Todd. Let's look here at this Axios poll. Let's get to, so I'll read some of these questions. They've asked 1,103 likely midterm voters. They asked them between the dates of October 30th and November 6th. So this is a couple of weeks ago. This is the percentage of people who say they agree with these statements on democracy, rights, and equality. Number 1, we are sacrificing too much of our privacy for the convenience and profit of big tech. 89% of people agreed with that. America's diversity makes it stronger. 88%. A word about that for a moment. True diversity of thought, of approach, of style is a good thing. It's good to have people who have different strengths. That's a good thing. I mean, I think about a football team, for example. I'm a fan of football. I played football. You need different types of players. You need diversity in skill set. You need big, strong guys. You need guys that can kick a football. You need guys that can read a defense, kind of be a coach on the field, but yet have enough talent to be able to throw a ball between highly athletic guys on the other side. That's your quarterback. You need running backs who, have a certain style or size. They're quick, they're strong, oftentimes they're shorter. Sometimes you got the bigger. There's different skill sets. You have a diversity, right? You have your cornerbacks, which we all know are the best athletes on the field because that's what I played. You have different skills for different. You've got, again, the big, strong guys, the semi-big athletic guys. You got the smaller, super quick, highly athletic people. You just have different types of players. But I will say this, diversity on its own is not a strength. I understand that diversity is good, but if we're only talking about superficial diversity, skin color and that sort of thing, that's not really that's been pushed on us very, very hard. We actually need to focus more on our unity. What unifies us as human beings, what unifies us as Americans, that used to be back at the founding of this country, that used to be our desire, for the desire all of us had to pursue liberty, have life, to pursue life, liberty, and of course the pursuit of happiness, to live that sort of way. That is not as cool, I guess, anymore. It is if we talk about it the right way, but we've got politicians who are just inept. But I have to take a break, my friends. Quick time out. I'm up against the clock. Be back here in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. We're going through this poll, this research poll by Axios, talking about the fear Americans have about survival of our nation, possibility of civil war, and so forth. And I left off, we were talking about diversity, certainly diversity in skill set, diversity in thought, diversity of opinion. That makes us stronger, certainly. But diversity, just looking at someone's skin tones and superficialities, that is not something in and of itself that I'm a big proponent of. People are who they are. That's fine. I've got absolutely no problems with that. The focus, in my estimation, should be that we should find ways to pursue our common interests, to pursue our unity. America's unity, actually, if you had a statement here, America's unity could make her stronger as well if we could agree on those big things. But going down this list, here's another statement the pollsters asked, and then people were asked if they agree with that or not. Our freedom of speech is being eroded away. 76% of people agreed with that statement. The government must do more to protect the civil and human rights of minorities. 73% agreed with that. American democracy is under major threat now. 69% agreed with that. The government should do more to lessen income inequality in society. 63% agree with that. America is on the path to another civil war. 57% agree with that. And then there's another question I see here at the bottom that had less than half. It's the only one of the questions that was less than half. This one's significantly less than half. Reverse discrimination against white people is a big problem in today's society. 37% agreed with that. So people, listen, there's a lot to unpack here. I certainly, in this program today, can't go through all this, but I wanted to focus on the fears. 57% believe America is on the path to another civil war. And American democracy is under major threat now. 69% said that. Now, if you break this down and talk about, depending upon how these questions were answered, I guess the mindset of the person answering the question, I agree or disagree potentially with each particular question. I already shared with you my thoughts about how the unity between people would actually make Americans stronger more than just focusing on diversity. I think we should spend more time talking about what unifies us. One of the things I think that we do on this program, we talk about something that I think is universally appealing to all people. We all have the desire to be free and to live our lives and to not have our lives interfered with by other people. And so that's why I think the principles of conservatism apply to every group. I don't like even to think about people as groups of people, but as groups, the individuals. This appeals to every individual. But depending again on the mindset and the intent of the person answering the question, they may or may not be wrong. American democracy, again, we have a constitutional republic. I know some people think that that's overplayed. Of course, we all have a voice. We have our system is predicated upon the consent of the governed. That is democratic, but it's not a democracy. This kind of drives me crazy, to be quite honest, as one who was a political science student in college. We have a constitutional republic. We have a constitutional federal republic. You can say constitutional democracy. I would representative democracy. I mean, maybe you could certainly make that case, but it's best described as a constitutional republic or constitutional federal republic. It's under threat. I agree that it's under threat, but depending upon what the 69% mean, it's not because President Trump is in office. It's because we have a bureaucratic state. We have a fourth branch of government that's been created out of whole cloth. I mean, the executive branch is in control of the bureaucratic state. But if you look, a lot of the fights that are out there today are basically the left saying that Trump doesn't have control over aspects of the bureaucracy. He 100% does. And yet that's not where we find ourselves today. People are afraid of Trump and his threat, I guess, to democracy because they've been told incessantly by people with makeup and good lighting and scripts and who collude with the Democrat Party to be afraid of these things. But the bottom line, however we got here, people are certainly afraid. According to a Marist poll, 47%, almost half of Americans expect a civil war in their lifetimes. According to a Winthrop poll, political violence is already a very, quote, a very big problem. I'll reference that or talk about that here as I pull this baby up. All right, so this says more Winthrop poll results concerning political unrest. Again, you know the routine here. You know that there's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of political angst. This is the Winthrop University poll. Effect of Charlie Kirk's assassination. 59% of South Carolinians say it is always acceptable for a person to be happy. It is always unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure they opposed. That's not even 2/3, followed by 21% who say it is usually unacceptable. I guess it's usually unacceptable unless it's the person you disagree with, and then it should be acceptable, I guess. So we don't have everybody in agreement that it's not a good thing to cheer the death of your political enemies. So there's a lot of tension, a lot of angst out there. By the way, these are all linked on our stack of stuff at toddhuffshow.com if you want to dig any deeper. But we're already in the grips of this cold civil war, and it's not open physical conflict, though there certainly are plenty of examples where it is, which we've hit on some of those. You factor in the violence that you've seen at some things like Black Lives Matter rallies and Antifa riots and so forth, and you can see quickly that this has heated up significantly over the past, 10 to 15 years now. Now, there's no middle ground left right now. Now, let me pause when I say that. You've heard me say, if you listen to this program for any length of time, when we travel the country on the Truth Tour, I make it a point to talk to. I talk to a tree, a post, and I listen. I don't just talk. I try to listen and understand. And I will tell you, I've said this for a long time, and I believe this to be true. I believe it's true that 80% of the people. This might be slightly hyperbolic with my percentages, but there's a lot of truth here. 80% of the people would agree with 80% of the things I say on this program. So I do believe that there is common or middle ground. But what happens is when Democrats elect people who hate this country as it's founded, and Republicans elect people who want to return to our Constitution, you can see politically how there's no middle ground left. The radical left has its worldview. It tries to redefine truth. This is where all these confusing things that have permeated our culture come from. It's where the trans movement finds its home. It's how people can't define what a woman is. It's because of this radical left worldview. It's why we're talking about which bathrooms people should be using. That's why we're talking about, listen, they try to redefine truth on a regular basis. And as I've said before, it's because they are spiritually unwell. This is at its core, this is a spiritual conflict. This is a spiritual war. The Bible tells us that we don't fight against flesh and blood, but this is a spiritual battle that we're engaged in. And it absolutely is. It absolutely is. You have a political movement led by the godless radical left, and they're pushing upon us a worldview that tries to redefine everything that we know to be good and true, because they know, I believe that they are so convicted. The Bible tells us in Romans 1 that everybody knows there's a God. By the way, I don't believe in atheists. If an atheist doesn't believe in God, I heard someone say this, and I've thought about this for the past couple weeks. I agree. I do not believe in atheists. They don't believe in God. I don't believe in them. But they don't. The thing is, they do. They do believe in God. They know there's a God. In fact, they get so angry, they want to run from that reality so much that they try to create another alternative where the world that they create says that everything is good and acceptable and that we shouldn't, judge people for this, that, and the other. That's where, my friends, the radical left takes us, and it is absolute moral depravity. Friends, really quickly here before I take a quick time out, many of you may be living with discomfort. That can be tough. Prescription medications can help, but they often come with a long list of side effects, not to mention the risk of dependency. That's why more people are exploring natural options like Kratom from Christopher's Organic Botanicals. Family-run company. They do things the right way, work directly with Indonesian farmers, and lab test every batch that they use. No synthetics, no chemicals, no surprises, just honest, natural Kratom. You can start with their Kratom pack. If you use code Todd Huff, you'll save 10%. Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. That's Christopher'sOrganicBotanicals.com. Truth, tradition, transparency. Time out for me, my friends. Back in just a minute. Welcome back, my friends. I'm talking here today about the reality that Republicans have got to win elections, and they've got to do whatever they can that is legal and ethical and moral to secure these victories. We do that here from the Full Suite Wealth Studios here at the Todd Huff Show. And I want to tell you a bit about them really quickly here, my friends. Have you ever noticed how some families seem to have a plan that lasts for generations? It's not by accident. Full Suite Wealth works with people who want their wealth to make a difference for years to come. Their team brings together high-level investment strategies like private equity, like private credit, option strategies, All of this combined with expert legal guidance. It's about making sure your vision becomes a reality for you and the people you love today and tomorrow as well. If you're looking to do more than just manage your money, if you want to leave a mark, build something lasting, take a look at Full Suite Wealth. FullSuiteWealth.com is where you can go for more information. Jason and his team stand ready to help you with your questions and to help you build your legacy and secure your future. All right. So all that being said, I mentioned before the break, there's no middle ground left between these radical leftists who have taken over the Democrat Party and Republicans, and I would say moderates and even reasonable Democrats. They have disagreements on basic realities. I've mentioned this previous segment: truth, biological sex, the purpose of government, what humanity can achieve. This is where the hardcore socialists and even the communists reside. And you cannot run a nation on two sets of realities simultaneously, my friends. It's simply impossible. I shared earlier, we talked about the polling. Real diversity is skills, gifts, viewpoints. But a country that has the mindset that says we can only, we need to pursue diversity for the sake of diversity, it eventually finds itself in this chaotic mess that we're in. And you cannot unify around diametrically opposed fundamental truths. There has to be a winner. There absolutely has to be a winner to avoid real conflict, my friends. And I mean real civil war, the hot civil war. One worldview must prevail politically. This is about elections. This is about persuasion. This is about truth. This should not be about violence. We need to win by putting things in our, as best we can, get the best candidates who are focused on the right issues, who are campaigning the right way, communicating clearly, who have the strength and the resolve to do what needs to be done once they are elected, to see this through. This is about people who are willing to have the fight to redistrict in the state of Indiana, Senator Rod Bray. This is about so much more than whatever people like Rod Bray, like Eric Holcomb, like Todd Young in my state think these things are about. This is about the survival of our republic. If Democrats win the House of Representatives, they will weaponize the government again. They will impeach Trump for fabricated things. The progress that we made and are making to get out of this mess that have been created largely by their policies is going to come to a screeching halt. This is going to impact your family. It's going to impact inflation. There's going to be more. There's going to be even more. This has nowhere to go until there's a winner. But up, my friends, there's going to be more tension, more turmoil, more just a boiling point until one side wins this thing. And we had better have a mentality of winning. Loser mentality needs to step aside. Sit this one out. That is ultimately the way. Listen to me. That is ultimately the way to avoid real conflict. It's just like the bully on the playground, right? It's just like that. You've got the bully on the playground who wants to play by his own set of rules. If people don't agree with his set of rules, he's going to try to force his set of rules on them. This is how leftists govern. You believe that this person is cis, this, biological, that, whatever, trans, that. And if you don't say it, if you don't use the right terms, you're going to be canceled. You're going to be spend jail time, pay a fine. This happens in some places, being pursued in some places. I'm just giving this as an example here. And so the only way to get past that is for there to be a winner. And just like in the schoolyard, when the bully is first approached by the person who's not going to be bullied or not watch as someone else is bullied, that's when there's the highest likelihood for there to be violence on the playground. That's when the kid might bop the bully in the face. And I would say kudos to him for doing that. But the truth is, what we want is for there to be a multiplication factor added or on the side of the bully busters. And then when you have a playground that might still have bullies, might still have people who want to force people to see things their way and abide by their rules by the left, but you have enough of the bully busters that they've backed down, that's what we want. That's how you have real peace in a society and real peace in the world. Peace through strength is what that's called, my friends. There has to be a winner. It has to be conservatism. Republican Party, that is the vehicle that's going to get achieved by. It won't be easy, but friends, we got to stick with it and fight. Got to go, SDG.